Okay, probably no one's gonna watch this, but here's my thing. Uh, I can't show any pictures because of copyright. So because I'm not one of them. Because they always seem to target me, so I ain't gonna bother with all that crap. So anybody else they show pictures, oh, God forbid, you threaten them with a copyright or whatever. Thanks, YouTube. It's been a while since I've been on this platform. Hope you guys are doing well. I haven't uploaded in God knows how long. I've been primarily focused on mainly on doing BitChute because of reasons. But anyway, I want to talk about Dragon Ball Z. This is a subject I don't hardly get into. But here's my deal. One, I hate when things get so real it's pathetic. But if we were to base it off of what actually happens, if said things were to happen, and again, if you get so technically real, it's going to be like, because, the creators, the people who were behind the animation, which was not just Akira Toriyama, but the people involved, wouldn't have thought about this. Actually, none of the stories that people come up with, they don't think about, especially fan-made stuff. I mean, some of the things, they have they're not comics, but manga that does different varieties and stuff that are from different alternate timelines or whatever. Like for Vegeta is the good guy instead of Goku or whatever. I mean, because this is, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to heavily spoil some of the Dragon Ball Z. So, I'm not going to try to spoil the entire show for you, but it's going to heavily require spoilers because there has to be an order for me to talk about this. Like, okay, there are characters that were never even introduced or had a full proper deal until like the movie of like Bardock, which got taken down. Can't find that movie anymore. It's like the original legendary Super Saiyan when Dragon Ball Z used to be cool, or Dragon Ball used to be cool when they used to introduce Dragon Ball Z with, especially watch the Dragon Ball Z. That was the best one, and I don't care what anybody says. Nothing tops that. But anyway, so here's the thing. I'm going to exclude a character, which I hate to do, but because he wasn't exactly, well, no, maybe I should go ahead and canonize him anyway in my story. No, I'll save that for next time. But in this story, we have, instead of doing what they would have done, because nobody has, and I mean this, no one has ever done it this way. You send everybody over with Goku. Okay? Mom, Dad, Nappa, Vegeta, Prince Vegeta. I'm not going to talk about all the other stuff that's in the show. But heavy spoilers on the names I'm dropping. You'd have to go watch the show if you want the whole thing. And all them... Actually, you know what? We'll go ahead and put them in there anyway. Broly. The original Broly. Not the one from... I want to kill it with the pieces. Anyway. Dragon Ball Super was... okay. Not excellent. I mean, I think it was absolutely pretty out there. It had a lot of greatness to it, but it'll never top what the original was. It never shall be. Never. Especially because that Broly deserved a chance to redeem himself. He did. Deny it all you want to. So anyway, we send them all to Earth, like usual. And we're gonna skip all the stuff about Dragon Ball because I don't remember any of it. Didn't watch a lot of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And we're gonna skip a bunch of stuff as well for Dragon Ball Z. I know that's gonna be a little bit boring, but anyway, everything happens as it was. Including we have Bardock's team because he had a team of warriors that were with him. They were all sent to Earth. Okay? All together. And they became good. Gohan is someone that they meet. And yes, he would have taken care of them and, whatever, helped them, trained them, whatever. And then sent them off to Roshi. Roshi would have helped them out, got them whatever, and then prepared them for whatever was coming. However, in this story, because of the way it is, we can't include other characters. I mean, they'll be there. They can be there, sure, but they won't be in the same prospect as, say, fast forward to where they have anything to do with it. I mean, a lot of the stuff will be like the same, but there'll be differences because, like, with Krillin, he doesn't have to go through the experiences that went on that I won't tell you about because that's a spoiler. But either way, they wound up on Namek. All the stuff unfolds, but it's way different because they're able to fight and save everyone, and it becomes a little bit more different. Then you fast forward because all this stuff goes on, blah blah blah. May not be any androids because whatever, but in this version, however, there may just be still a perfect cell. How this happens is by copying the technique of remembering from another past life of those ones, as the other one did, only and the other ones somehow don't even become androids. They are, as a matter of fact, even the love and stuff doesn't happen in the show. Not the same way. In Goku's case, Goku would have went off with Bulma on one side of the one of the universes, and another one where he still gets with Bulma. I mean, not Bulma, but Chi-Chi. And then comes Gohan. Now, give or take, Gohan is also not part of the story. No. Gohan also becomes a thing, whether it's through Bulma or Chi-Chi, believe it or not. The difference is, however, he might look differently. I couldn't tell you what it looks like. Much like Trunks. Trunks will happen whether it's through Bulma or Chi-Chi. Again, it will look a little bit differently. But again, neither one of them actually Trunks would still be part of the story, but through Chi-Chi. Now, I won't go into the specifics of how that would even happen because we're not here to talk about that. But either way, Goku has Bulma and Vegeta has Chi-Chi. And meanwhile, what's his name? I can't think of his name now. And Krillin have different women. They don't even, they still become somewhat of warriors. Chiaotzu and Tien, they're still part of the story, but they are not, in this version, they don't become the bad guys and they become good. They're already good because they were able to stop it from happening, I guess. I don't know. In the first place. But anyhow, and then you fast forward to Namek. So going back to Namek, like I said, everything unfolded, but a lot of people are not there. I mean, the same difference. Only this time, Tien might be actually there. And Bulma and Chi-Chi stay behind. Yeah. Trunks, unfortunately, tags along with them, and Krillin stays behind. Piccolo never makes it to Namek. No, but eventually does meet the bad guy at the end. Anyway, so then you have Cell comes along eventually in the story. None of the stuff that actually happens in the original story actually happens where, let's just say what happens without spoiling anything. And Cell is already automatically strong. But not as strong as the full amount of people that are there. Now, going back to Goku's people, not to be confused with the Earthlings, because, yeah, originally that's what it was, because he adopted them. But his birth race, which I don't know if that makes any sense. Anyway, a lot of them just could never see redemption, so they were pretty much, okay. We're just going to leave it at that without spoiling it. Same kind of stuff that would happen, but differences, because it wouldn't have made any difference anyhow whether he did anything or not, Bardock. So, we're leaving Bardock out of that part of the story, including Goku's mom, because they both survive, and, well, they're all there on planet Namek. And somehow or another, all of them get close enough to the transformation, but only one succeeds. Eventually, they all become there, and somehow or another, Nappa regains his hair. Because there's no point in having no baldness unless you've got cancer. Or unless you like being bald. Which I don't think he did. But I could be wrong. But we're not going to base it off of that anyway. We're just going to base it off of these story factors, because why not? I mean, you already got one bold character, actually 2 of them. No, 3. When you got Chiaotzu, you got Tien, and Krillin. Krillin goes back and forth all the time about losing his hair. So he's kind of a copycat from off of Nappa anyway. The difference is they all pretty much, except for Tien, they all stay behind on Earth. And instead of the events that happen on Earth, we're just going to put it like this. When Cell came into the picture, they all had to fight him on a different planet. However, this time, Piccolo actually gets to fight Cell. In the tournament, along with Goku, Bardock, and his team. Nappa pretty much stays behind to train and, whatever. Tien also gets to fight, and Chiaotzu. Krillin also gets a chance to fight this time around. The tournament that happens between Bulma, or not Bulma, but Chi-Chi and Goku never actually happens. Nope. Fact is, she gets to absolutely go into the ring and kick Cell. But even though she kind of gets him in it, but doesn't succeed. But then we fast forward later on to another villain. Frieza shows up again at this point. Nobody else but Frieza. Trunks, however, does not get involved because there's no need. Not even future Trunks. However, future Gohan, future Trunks, we will talk about later. So, moving on, we will say that, who happens to encounter Frieza is Piccolo. Piccolo defeats Frieza once and for all. And then we have the illustrious final boss, Buu. There is no demons or anything else. Buu just appears. And Babidi is not there. No. Not with him, anyway. Babidi is off somewhere else trying to do something else, and Bobby's just actually minding his own business, running a bunch of experiments like Dr. Gero. So, Buu, out in the class of the universe, is back on, actually, Namek. Yeah, and New Namek, to be exact. And the Warriors come to fight Buu, but it becomes more of a fair fight. And they wind up defeating Buu. But Buu never becomes a good guy. He was never evil after that again either. And in the end, once they succeeded in bringing back peace once and for all, for everything. Now, to fast forward to the future, Goku lives. The androids have finally appeared. But unfortunately, it's not going to be the ones that you know of in the story, 17 and 18. Oh no, these are much more stronger ones, but they're actually weaker as well. Because the android in 17 and 18 were fairly strong and could have wiped out everything. And so, yes, Trunks is there, Goku's there, but his father and mother have evacuated Earth and decided to live on another planet. Start a whole new deal and try to revive planet Vegeta. But actually, it was planet Sadala they wound up reviving. And thus, they wound up becoming stronger and They were able to build a planet that was far more superior. And actually, to be perspective things, since it's not real anyway, they were able to move this planet into a dimension no one can ever get to unless they were allowed access. A Goku can go there at any time because he's more welcome. Even Nappa fled. But Vegeta stayed behind on Earth. Much like the events, and because he was supposed to be there anyway. So, anyhow, with everything done, you have now Cell, who has never went good or bad ever again. He's disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. Frieza eventually comes back in the future as a good person, but something more darker even happens with the androids. A mega ultimate threat. Who's there to save them? Frieza. And unlike those forms that they talk about, Black Frieza does not exist. But Golden Frieza does. And Broly makes an absolute return. Unfortunately, though, Broly is off fighting something else even far worse. But he's actually just fighting for fun, so he can keep himself preoccupied and control his powers. And again, this is the original, not the one from Dragon Ball Super. So, anyway, Gohan, I should say, like, future Gohan, survives. He does not actually ultimately become Trunks' mentor. Suffice it to say, Bulma doesn't even know Trunks. Chi-Chi also is a character who disappeared. She went off and became a god. I mean a goddess. Not a god, but a goddess. Not someone who's so full of power, but definitely remaining immortal, but yet only immortally young. She wanted to be a full-time young adult, much like Bulma did in the original series. But this Bulma, maybe as genius as she was, she decides never to invent the time machine. Well, for the first place, she doesn't even know what a time machine is, never even thinks about it. And thus, you also will have noticed there was no Android 16, because Android 16 did not even exist in this story. Fact is, you might as well know that actually, Android 16 finally does appear in the story. But he's a kind of a villain. But he's also the good guy. But he never visits Earth. He's never part of Earth. And there is no Red Ribbon Army. Because Red Ribbon Army never existed after they were wiped out for good. Now, leading up to the story of the future, future Gohan actually meets Videl. But instead of the Videl you get, those two don't actually get together. Nope. You know who gets together? Videl winds up marrying a goddess. Not just any goddess, an angel from the series of Dragon Ball Super. That's right. So she winds up going out somewhere else. She's not a student. She's not anything. She goes off and marries it. And Krillin still has his same child that he had, Marin, but from a different woman. Because it's not fake, or not real. That's why. Okay? Anyway. Moving on. There is no Dragon Ball GT or anything like that. There's no baloney hole crap like that. However, Goku succeeds in getting to a bunch of different forms and winds up, he never dies. He actually becomes the god of everything and the ruler of the entire galaxies of all universes. Out for superioring every being in the universe. Which, with his power, people would have to ask him if they want to get over to certain places. Without that, it wouldn't happen. Now, we talk about a character called Zeno. Zeno doesn't exist. Now, in fact, he actually does, but not the same Zeno you know of. He's actually a normal person in this one. With his other twin self that came out, and they were actually brothers. Oh yeah, twin brothers. They wind up going to another dimension where they run a business, go to school, everything else. Daishinkan, or whatever his name is, didn't actually become an angel. He didn't even become the father of angels. Nope. He actually he was just a person that ran a different department. A different world. Full of Kais. All the Kais were under his tutelage. All the Kais there actually existed and still existed. None of them died. Fortunately, though, they were on a different planet. But they decided to cultivate one together with Daishinkan. How? They were just there. Yes, there were angels, but it didn't happen to the power of Daishinkan. And so, with our story almost closing to an end, the newest Android threat wasn't even all that in a bag of chips compared to what happened with Android 17 and 18. But they were a threat long enough to get Gohan and Trunks involved. So, yeah. Every now and again, they go and do a sparring match. I mean, they did destroy a city, but it was already dead anyway. There was no one really living there. Luckily for them. But it still angered Gohan and Trunks. That's because they have memories of another past life where some other androids came along and did some just as much damage, only it was life-threatening, so they couldn't allow that to happen instead. So in the end, there you have it. Gohan actually found love with another woman, and so did Trunks. And it wasn't the one from Super. Nope. They lived happily ever after. Do that. I hope you enjoyed my story of Dragon Ball Z and Future one. I wrapped it all in one because I thought about doing it that way to kind of represent a different story altogether. To even include Gohan, because as well, I liked Future Gohan. And I liked Teen Gohan. Did not care for the new Gohan that came about. I mean, he was okay. He has his moments, whatever. Never cared for the lovey-dovey crap that they had going on. And it was nothing but men and women. So I also decided to mix it up with a little bit of something else. So that's what you got. My little twist. If you don't like it, well, who cares anyway? Because it's not a fan-made theory. It's not one of them things. It's just one of them stories that no one's ever thought about doing. It's always the same with people. Let's have Goku marry and whatever happens, everybody's got to be straight. Like that stupid, dumb old Sailor Moon. No. Screw that series. But yeah, that's the thing. If you loved it, like, subscribe, comment, and share for more. And make sure your notification bell is on, because I'm going to tell you right now, I might do more of this in the future. I don't know yet. Because I can't promise the consistency of this doing on YouTube unless I know this series will do well. Because I'll tell you what, as long as I do love Dragon Ball Z, and I do, but that doesn't mean I have to love the other stuff that came along. But yeah, because I liked the original Broly. I didn't care for the new Broly. And no, I didn't include Beerus or Whis, anybody else, because I didn't feel that they were really all that important to the story. I might include them in another story when I go to another one, if at all things go well. I don't have high hopes for this, but I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and if this video succeeds, I might just do more. Because I was going to do interviews, but that didn't pan out too well, because I couldn't get anybody to be a part of the interview process. So that was a no-go on that part. Either way, I want to thank you guys for watching. Happy birthday and happy anniversary when this comes out. And, hey, I'll see you then. Until then, later. Uncle Security Bro, signing off.